What's up, Brodies? Welcome to the Millennial Rolodex. Welcome back to the show, or just welcome to the show in general. We are rebranding now. We are a rebranded show called the Millennial Rolodex, and I'll explain that a little later. A little later down the line, I'm just going to put a couple of disclaimers right up front. Full transparency. We're looking for full transparency, not only in this show, the Millennial Rolodex, but the every time I talk to you, if I talk to you on here or you know me in person or you see me on the street and we talk, I would like to be as transparent and honest as possible because I am in my 35 years of age living on this earth. I kind of have this theory as of right now in my wisdom is that the more honest I am, the better I feel about life and the more balanced I feel, the more harmonious I feel, and the more I just get out of conversations with people and my relationships in general. Because when I think we all have this note tendency. The more the closer friends that we have are we're just honest with them more, right? Like they know our deepest secrets. They know we could say anything to them and they won't judge us. They might joke around with us or they might make fun of us, but we'll have like deep conversations about things and we're not afraid to look weird or silly. So I'm trying to have that affect me in all my relationships, not just some people, some relationships I have where I'm like having different what would you call it, different personalities with different people, which I feel like we all do that. So I'm trying to limit that. And actually that comes from, in full transparency, one of my good friends, my brothers, he actually said that one time we were having a discussion because he's one of the people in my life that I felt like is close and we could talk about everything and before even talking about anything, we know you have those friends where you're like, oh, I know what you're thinking already, and you have those conversations. So he actually said that to me one time where he was talking about like, oh, he has all these separate groups of friends, and when he wants to be as authentic himself with everybody, so he doesn't have to worry about like, oh, who am I with this person or who am I with this person, and my personality is just what it is and you could take it or leave it kind of thing. And I thought that was pretty beautiful and really an interesting it's a very interesting notion to have, is that you are all these different people, yet you feel like yourself, but these are all versions of you. So maybe you hide a version of yourself when you're with maybe certain friends, like you have friends that you do like recreational sports with or something, and you just have these like sports friends, and then you have maybe you read books, you're in a book club, you have your book club friends, and none the ever two shall meet. I don't know if I said that right. That's another disclaimer. I'm going to say a lot of sayings wrong. I'm going to make up a lot of words during this, but once again, you're going to get all of me on this show. So, on these conversations. And so, yeah, that's just where I think I'm going to try to have dialogues and conversations on the show. Today is a solo episode, but when I have interviews with friends or people that I just want to talk to and gauge their thoughts on whatever is going on or whatever they want to talk about, or maybe a specific subject, and anything too, any subject, no subject is off limits here, because I think once again we just have to start asking questions and talking to each other. I think we need to talk to each other. I think that's one thing. I had a conversation with my fiance, maybe a dingo HO baby. You have to say that every time you say fiance. That's from Seinfeld, by the way, if you don't know that. Hilarious piece of dialogue that I can't get out of my head. But I was having a conversation with my fiance, and we were talking, and I was saying that I feel like that's missing in the world, is like generations of people, we're not communicating with each other, whether it's because of technology or it's because of social media, which is technology, but whatever's going on, we made our life so easy and so accessible to not talk to each other that we don't have conversations. We could be around each other for 8 hours. You could go to your friend's house for 8 hours. you're scrolling on your phone, they're scrolling on their phone, you're distracting yourselves. You're not actually be sitting there either in silence, you don't even have to talk, just be around each other, or talking to each other and having these dialogues and conversations, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. We are a sociable species. We're creatures of commune. We're communal creatures. We're creatures of communion. We're communal creatures. So we have to talk to each other, listen, talk about ideas that we don't believe, talk about ideas that we do believe, talk about things that we agree with, we disagree with. We just have to talk to each other, and we have to listen too, which my fiance said, articulated when we were having a conversation. And maybe I also need to, this is a little inside for her, maybe I need to listen more than I talk. And I will say that that's a full disclosure. That's something that I need to work on, which we all do. I think we need to listen to each other. So, listen to things that, and to listen to things that you don't agree with is probably the hardest thing, because we could all sit here and listen to things all day that we agree with. I could listen to somebody validate my agreements all day, but it's when I am challenged and questioned about my beliefs or things that I think that are true that I get irritated, or I can't really listen to for a long time, or even don't want to hear at all, and I just want to live in my echo chamber, which I think is where we are at in this world. So I'm going to try, and with this show, but with my life in general, which this is an extension of it, to have dialogues about everything, and hear all different types of perspectives and different types of theories and just feelings, emotions about everything. And once again, no topic is off the limits here. And you're gonna have to know there's gonna be jokes here. There's gonna be joke conversations and stuff. So you're just gonna have to figure it out yourself. I'm not gonna say this is a joke. This is not a joke. So just keep that in mind. This is going to be we're gonna get to know each other very well, because I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it together, and we'll figure it out together, guys. Just like the world. I think I'm an optimistic person. But so what else? I have I have a couple things I jotted down. Oh yeah, so I find the millennial rolodex. Where did that come from? Well, obviously I am a millennial, and it's not well, I'm 35, so obviously if you know about generations, I'm a millennial. And being a millennial, let me just tell you the origin of the name first. So I was in a dispensary, a marijuana dispensary in Long Island, or if you're from Long Island, on Long Island. And so I was there, and it was like the bunch of people that worked there were around my age, and it's just like a crazy, I was born in 1990. It's a crazy like 90s early 2000s vibe everywhere in this place. It's called Happy Days in I think Farmingdale or Melville. It's one of those two. And everybody's so nice, and they want to help you get the right weed and the right strain and the right bowls, the right paraphernalia, everything, right? And so I go in there, and I'm picking up the order, and there's this music playing, this song in the background, and the song was obviously a millennial song. It was from that time, because everything in there is so nostalgic, and we're all around the same age. I mean, the customers there were also from whatever the smoking age is, I guess 21 to like 60. Like everybody now goes there, from white collar, blue collar, everything. Every person you could see in there. But the people that work there happen to be around probably like late 20s, 30s, early 40s. So there's this song playing, and it's like a song that's so familiar from that time, and I'm trying to like go through my head and think about it, and I hear the guy, and I'm at the register, and there's a bunch of people that work at the register, and they're talking about, they're like, who is this? And then one of them goes, oh, I think that's Blink 182. And it's like, no, that's not Blink 182. And then I'm there, and I'm like, nah, I don't think that's not Blink 182. And then somebody else comes in, and it's like, oh, that's Sum 41. That's Sum 41. That's In Too Deep, Sum 41. And we're like, yes, that's what it is. And then I said to the group, the people that worked there, I was like, I was trying to go through my millennial Rolodex, meaning my mind, my millennial Rolodex trying to figure it out because there's so much knowledge I have from growing up from that time that I was just like it felt like in my brain I was just like going through, and the Rolodex is for this Gen Z generation that I'm not. I know I said that with a little bitter hit, but I don't mean it in a bitter hit. If anything, I'm talking to you guys the most out of everybody because you are my younger generation. A Rolodex is one of those things. I don't know if you've ever seen like an old movie or an old picture and it had like phone numbers in it and it was on a desk and you kind of roll through it and it had a bunch of tabs with people's names or addresses or something. That's a Rolodex. So I was going through my millennial Rolodex, my mind, trying to figure out, is this Blink 182, Green Day, Fall Out Boy? It's a little later. I was just like going through all of the millennial bands at the time in my head and trying to see who it was. So that's me all the time, though. That's my mind all the time. Specifically, I think as a millennial, I talk to a lot of people my own age, a couple years younger, a couple years older, who are millennials, and we all seem to have like a energy. We all seem to have like things that we like, we don't like. Like if you say any TV show from TGIF, the which was like a stack of shows that they played one right after the other on TV on Friday nights. There you hit like your nostalgia factor and you're gonna be like, oh, I remember going home on Friday night after school and watching it either with your friends or alone, whatever. You just remember watching it. Like mention Boy Meets World to any millennial and they will go crazy. That's probably their favorite show still to this day. It is mine. So yeah, so we all have this same kind of vibe, and even now, like we're going through so much in the world that we, once again, we're probably like 40s to like 30, late 20s. That's our generation. We've kind of been through a lot and we've kind of been hibernating. I mean, you hear this a lot. Like this, our generation was the generation that they said, yeah, you could be anything you want, be anything. And that kind of like overstimulated all of us, I think, to like, all right, we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to follow all of our dreams. And that kind of led us to be stagnant and not follow our dreams and kind of be hibernating. I would say up until this point, 2025, where I notice like a lot of us are like, we're having that angst and we're getting closer to midlife and we're something that I call forever kids, millennials, because even we could have families, we could have wives, kids, houses, whatever. We could have like great corporate jobs. We're still kids because that's our mentality. Like we don't have this adult mentality, and we're just perpetually kid like, I would say, and have this yearning for fun and magic. And I think now in 2025 we're like waking up, because I think for so long we've been hibernating into like a malaise, like one thing after another. Like we all got at pretty much, you graduated from high school and you had a financial crisis. Then after that, you kind of were dilly-dallying in school, I would guess. So, and or you were going into a trade job and you kind of were just like, all right, whatever. You're like dilly-dallying in life. And now at this age, I feel like we're all kind of like waking up together like a mass group and saying like, because we are the last group of people who didn't have the internet until a little later in life. So we were going outside. Like you'll hear this a lot from our generation. Like, oh, the lights were that's when we had to get home and you couldn't get in contact. Our parents couldn't get in contact with us when we were out, and we would just go out, play, run around all day, and then come home when the street lights came on. You hear that a lot. That's a saying. So we were like the last generation that really had that. And this generation now, you could be in like from Gen Z down now, you could just be in contact with them 100%. And now not just them, but we're all in contact with each other all the time, but we don't really talk to each other, which is hilarious. It doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to do in this movement. And then when I was talking to my fiance, maybe a dingo ate your baby, she was saying that you can't control a whole culture. You can't say, oh, everybody needs to do this, but you could just control yourself. and you can control what you do. And she's absolutely correct. So I'm going to be the change that I think is necessary. And I did that like a president with my one knuckle finger out. So I'm gonna practice what I preach, and I'm gonna have these conversations on here, solo dolo, solo episodes, and then episodes with guests, and just like, and just talk, shoot the shit, and talk about everything. I want to know about everything. I want to know about life. I want to know about your philosophy. I want to know about. I love art, all types of art. I'm one of those guys who think that everything is a work of art. In Rick Rubin's book, which I have not finished yet, I've been reading for however long it came out. I forgot what the name of it is. I think it's The Art of Living. Don't quote me on that, but he says he'll say like finding a route home in traffic is a work of art. Going to the grocery store, picking up your groceries is a work of art. Everything is a work of art, and that could sound hippy dippy, but that's just what I believe. So, we all have our own little beliefs. That's what you could expect. Some weird beliefs for in this show. So in our dialogues together, our talks together, dialogues is also what like the old philosophers used to say. So I'm gonna probably say dialogues a lot for some reason. I don't know. I feel very philosophical in front of this microphone. Took a sip of tea. Sorry, I'm chilling out. We're at 16 minutes now, so that's pretty. And I've been talking straight, so you would think I can't talk anymore, but I could talk a lot more, guys. And you're gonna find out. I'm big also into films and movies, so I'm probably gonna do a lot. We're gonna talk about a lot of movies and a lot of music, a lot of reading books. Like I notice now, and I try to. This was another thing. Like we have to talk to each other, but I have hope for Gen Z. And people usually lump millennial and Gen Z together, but we're very different. I do have hope, and they usually say millennials are millennials when they're talking negatively, but they're thinking about Gen Z. I feel that in my heart, and I'm not throwing shade at Gen Z, but I think that's what's happening. But Gen Z is hard because that's a group of people that grew up on their phones, grew up with their phones handy on them at all times. So even if you have ideas or you have thoughts or you want to do things, you don't have that ability, or you never learn that ability to stay. You didn't learn that ability to stay bored and to figure things out. Maybe like the generations before you did, mine and the ones before me even had it worse off. So you have to. So Gen Z, I'm talking to you. I talk to a lot of people that I work with, a lot of my friends, I would call them, a lot of just really smart, cool people, and it's very hard for them to not be on their phone all the time, and it's hard for them to read books and even read or watch long form videos. Like try to if you, back in the day, watching a movie was like they would say, oh, that's gonna rot your brain. Now if somebody could have an attention span to watch a complete movie, like you're winning in life at this point. Or watch a video that's 10 minutes rather than a short, or TikTok, whatever. So reading a book is almost not even imaginable now. So you know that even affects, I mean, like once again, I have to practice what I preach. I am on my phone a lot, but I try to get off my phone a lot, and I'm currently reading, like, I'm in between 4 books. I'll tell you them right now. There's a Salt book. It's called Salt. I forgot the author of it. I probably should look this stuff up before I record, but there's a book, Salt, that's about like the history of salt and cultures of salt and stuff, which is an amazing book. I'm like 20 pages in. I'm reading Dharma Bums, which I love that book, Jack Kerouac book, which I'm more than halfway done with it, but that's more of a savor, like a wine to savor it, because it's such a great read, and it's already one of my favorites, and it takes place in a time and a place. It's Jack Kerouac, the leader of the Beat Generation, when all of these guys are in like 40s, 50s, early 60s were, um, they were experimenting with thoughts and experimenting with drugs and meditation and different spiritualities. So there was something in the air, and there was something in the air, but not just the air, but in there was a movement going on, an internal spirituality that was awakening during that time, which led actually to the 60s and 70s, like the hippie movement. That was like the precursor. The beats were the precursor to it. And so that book is really good, and it's a short read, but I'm savoring it. So I'm more than halfway done with that. And then Gertrude Stein's Everybody's Autobiography, which is about, she wrote a book about, she was like from the roaring 20s of, she's American, but she lived in Paris, and that's when like the 20s in Paris was, you had Ernest Hemingway, Pablo Picasso, guys, Pablo Picasso, you got your Pablo Picasso, Pablo Picasso, Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway. I think I said that already. And who else? There were a bunch of filmmakers. I think Buñuel was there, who was an artist as well, and just a bunch of artists that were there, and they were talking to each other and just like going out all the time and partying and creating this beautiful art in the 20s. And so she wrote a biography, her biography. It was called, what did she write? I think it's the autobiography of Alice B. Tolkien, which was her. She was a lesbian, which was her wife. But it was, I didn't read this, so I'm just telling you what I think, what I kind of know about it. So she wrote a book about everybody in that time, which was like all the most popular, famous people of that time. And then after that book, she became really famous because that was a big hit book. And she was very, at least that's what I know about her now. I could be wrong, but she was she was a great mind, and she was very respected by all the artists of the time. Like, they would come to her with their art and their ideas, and she would like tell them, be honest with them about things. And so she wrote that, and then she says her life. So the book that I'm reading, Everybody's Autobiography, which I'm like 70 pages in, so like a third done with that book, still reading it, picking it up from time to time. And this one, she's writing her life pretty much after she wrote the first book, and how her life changed, and how she came back to America and had all these opportunities. And some people liked what she said, how people never talked to her again or didn't want to talk to her after she wrote it, and how just like the world was at the time after she wrote that. So I actually really love the book, and it's a good read, but this goes to the point of I am like reading a little bit of the book, putting it down, picking up the other book, reading a little bit of it, putting it down. And literally, if you see me with my backpack, you're going to see it's in my backpack. All these books are in my backpack. So it's hard for me too, but we have to keep on reading. We have to read. I have to read. We have to read. We have to write down our ideas. We have to discuss them, because that's what we've been done. That's what the innovations as a culture. That's how we grow spiritually, you know? I mean, it's no mistake that obviously two of the books that I just said, one was Everybody's Autobiography. Gertrude Stein, her whole life was talking to artists, her friends they were all artists, and they were talking about big ideas and big emotions and big pieces of art and big expressions. They were trying to express something deep inside of them. The Beats, Jack Kerouac, even though Dharma Bums is not autobiographical, it's still like every book that he's written, it has elements of him in it. So, you know, and his friends, all the people that at the time that were part of the Beat generation, they were all poets, writers, wrote so many books at the time, and even now people still love. They were discussing ideas in coffee shops. They were discussing ideas in bars. They were just going around the country and taking little pilgrimages to India, and trying to learn more and more about things, And so, I just think that's what we need to do, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So this is the beginning. This is the first episode. This is kind of like an introductory episode of the millennial Rolodex. And, I think I'm very optimistic, because it feels good just to record, because once again, We all, this is, I feel like this is a part of me, and this is even whatever happens with this show, with this is a part of me that I have to do. This bleeds into and leads into other things in my life. And when we don't do things that are a part of us, which I think that's more common now than ever because there's just so many distractions, we stop being ourselves in a lot of ways, and we stop, and everything that we do in life affects everything else. So me not doing this is going to affect me not writing or me not acting or me not directing. Those are other passions that I have, and so me not going out and being around family, me not going talking, being around friends, so this affects, if this is part of me, which I feel it is, it affects everything that I do. Just like I'm sure out there you guys have things that you really love to do. I talk to people all the time, and in our conversations, I say, I typically go towards that kind of conversation, a more if you will, new agey, a more spiritual, more passion, artistic filled conversation. What do you like to do? Everybody everybody has something that they like to do that they're not doing, that they know they should be doing it. And I guess that's I guess where I'll end this episode, the first episode, and to just do the things that you feel that because we all have it. And me saying this right now, if you're listening to it and you made it this far in, thank you. I love you. I truly do love you. There needs to be also more love said in the world, I think, and more love shown and said and reciprocated, because there is so much love out there, and I feel like it's not being projected to each other on a normal scale, I would say, and so thank you. I love you. And just do the things that you know that you have to do, because what I was saying was, me even saying this right now, that there's something that you have to do, that you want to do, that you have to do, that you're not doing. So just do that. Just do it, start it, and then I will see you and speak to you, and we'll jive next episode, guys. Love you.